think success means that you've been able to put yourself in a position in which you are better than what you were a year before. It could be, again, on the professional level, maybe you're in a position with more responsibilities, maybe you're managing people, having a higher compensation. Obviously, that's success if you can compare it to where you were before, and you're able to acknowledge the process that took you there. Obviously, if it's based on luck, then you're not really going to appreciate it as much. But if you know exactly what you did to get there, that's going to be rewarding, and that's going to feel like success.
The Tom Screen podcast is owned and made possible by Ethical Marketing Service. If your business is struggling with Google or Facebook ads, maybe you're frustrated figuring it out, or there's a performance issue, Ethical Marketing Service has worked on hundreds of accounts, and we can help in this area. We offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, and for every direct account we look after, we sponsor a child in a developing nation with food, water, and education. If you would like to find out if we can help, it's a free, no salesy consultation call, and the link is in the description. Enjoy the episode. Thomas Green here with Ethical Marketing Service. On the episode today, we have Raúl Galera. Raúl, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure. Would you like to take a moment and tell the audience a bit about yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. So I'm the partnerships and business development lead at ReferralCandy. And for those of you who are not familiar with ReferralCandy, we're an app that allows e-commerce stores to set up and run customer referral programs. So basically a way to acquire new customers by turning your existing customers into your marketing team, which is something that helps you acquire new customers and also retain your existing ones.
Well, thank you for the introduction. I suppose based on what you've said, I kind of like it would be beneficial to understand a little bit about how it works. So do you mind giving us an example of just a small example of what that process looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So from the consumer perspective, what ReferralCandy does is that when you're a consumer and you're buying something from an online store and you complete the checkout process, you're going to receive an invitation to join the referral program from that store. It could either be in a form, an email form, or in some sort of widget or pop-up. After you accept to be part of the program, you get a unique referral link that you can start sharing with your friends, and then you can put that on social media. You can put it on a group chat, whatever it is. And once your friends click on the referral link, they're going to see an offer that's unique for them. It could be like 15% off their first purchase or 20% off. And then from there, they're taken to the online store so they can complete the purchase. And what ReferralCandy does is that it tracks the whole referral process from the moment that they clicked on the link until the moment that they completed the purchase at checkout. And once we verify the transaction, we send the reward to the customer that made the recommendation in the first place.
So essentially, it's like if you're a fan of a particular product or you're a regular customer, you can be an advocate of it and earn money from it by recommending it to others. That's essentially a summary.
Exactly. Yeah,
okay.
You can either make money, or you can get a discount on your next purchase, or you can get some sort of like free product or a gift card or something along those lines. That's up to the store to decide what kind of reward system they want to implement.
Do you have any thoughts about, should we say, a natural way to go about doing it? Because I don't know who your target market is necessarily. I mean, I would think it is perfectly reasonable for, say, like a content creator to put a referral link in. I think people are quite used to that. But if you're as a sort of consumer, I think, let's say you've got, I don't know, thousands of Facebook friends or something, and you put a link out. What would be like a natural way to go about doing that that's not sort of salesy to the people that you are actual friends with?
Yeah, I honestly think that you can't really be too salesy in front of people that you care about, in the sense that, when we think of and coming from a former salesperson myself, when we think of a salesperson, we typically think about somebody that's just trying to push the product to us, and no matter what, they want us to buy the product, and that's it. That's the only objective. But you can't really do that with a friend of yours or a coworker or a family member, assuming that you have a good relationship with that family member. If you're recommending a product, it's because either you liked it, you used it yourself and you liked it, or you think it's a good purchase or something that that family member, that friend, that coworker is going to enjoy. And so I think that's why referrals tend to work so well. It's because people that are promoting your products, your customers, do not sound like salespeople, and also in the eyes of their friends, also don't sound like salespeople. It sounds like a legit recommendation. Um, and one more reason why I think that referral programs tend to work is because if we take like a step back, before you have a referral program running in your store and your online business, you're probably getting referrals already. It's just that if you don't have a system to track it, it's kind of impossible for you to know if the customer who just bought a pair of tennis shoes was referred by a friend or just happened to stumble upon your website. And so having a system kind of obviously helps to identify those referrals that are probably happening organically. The whole point of our referral program is to increase the volume of referrals by adding incentives, which is something that always works with people. But yeah, so going back to your question about being natural, I think once again, I think it's I think the way that we talk to our friends and family and coworkers is natural per se. And so when we're recommending a product, we're probably doing it out of our own experience. And so if we say that we like it, it's the same reason why we always look at product reviews before we buy a product, because we know that for example, the product photos that we see on the product page are perfect, right? They're made with really professional cameras, perfect lighting, and so we know that it's almost true, but it's not as true as seeing a picture taken with a smartphone from somebody that left a review, even if we don't know that person, right? So we're always trying to get to kind of like that level of social proof, and a recommendation from a friend would always help. And we know that a friend would not recommend a product that they didn't enjoy just to get $20 out of it.
What are your thoughts on the concept of sort of like that? Totally agree with you about referrals being, should we say, trusted, recommended. Whatever springs to me is like there's no self-interest in it for the person who's recommending it. Meaning, like if I were recommending to a friend, like a restaurant is always the example given, right? You should eat at this restaurant because it's amazing. But if that person knew that I then made a commission from that, maybe it wouldn't be as, shall we say, persuasive. Have you got any thoughts around that topic?
I mean, it's definitely possible, but once again, I think that in the majority of cases, you wouldn't recommend something to a friend. You wouldn't recommend a bad restaurant to a friend, telling them it's amazing just because you're gonna get a voucher next time, because it's it won't hold. Like they'll try it. Like sure, they'll trust you, they'll try it, and then they'll never trust you again with recommendations. Which again, it happens. We've all gotten a recommendation from a friend that it was probably an honest recommendation. They just legit enjoyed that restaurant, that hotel, vacation spot, Netflix show, whatever it is, and then we experienced it ourselves and it was terrible. And we're probably thinking, okay, well, now we know we can't really trust that person with recommendations. But sure, the fact that they're getting something out of it might make it a little bit more, might make somebody like raise an eyebrow. But at the end of the day, it's our own reputation that's on the line. So nobody would sell their reputation for $20 or for a 15% discount on their next purchase. So that's one reason. And then the other reason why I think that it doesn't really happen that often, it's because we've seen a lot of referral programs that when you're setting up a referral program, you need to decide how much you want to give your customers to encourage them to refer, and you also need to decide how much you're going to offer their friends to become customers for the first time and make that first purchase. In a lot of cases, we've seen a higher reward for the friend than for the person that's making the recommendation. And in those cases, the business owner knows that their customers are going to talk about their products anyway. And so they decide to just put more emphasis on acquiring that first customer, just because the referral is probably going to happen, and also giving something, offering something to somebody that we care about. In a lot of cases, it's enough of a reason for us to go out and refer. So yeah, I think that's that kind of like, social relationships type of, aspect. I think it's really interesting, and if you know how to play it out well, it can really, it can make a positive impact on your business.
Yeah, and I think the examples where it maybe might work really well is if you know that person and you know they're spending, let's say, X amount on a particular product, and you can get, I don't know, a significant saving on that particular product, then really you're doing them a favor, and the product may be even better than the one they're buying. So I guess
Yep.
how would you go about doing it if you were, let's say, I don't know, online and you had a link to share? What would you say?
As a consumer myself,
Yeah, let's say you were referring someone. What would you say?
I don't think I would say much. I would probably show. So if I have a picture, let's say it's clothing. If I have a picture of me wearing that, that's what I would do. If I have a video of me unboxing the product, I would definitely go with that. We react a lot better to uh, what's visual. And sure, I can tell. I can tell my friends that, hey, this T-shirt that I bought, it's great, and you should definitely get it too. But until they see it, you know, they can't really, wrap their head around the fact that this T-shirt is so great that they actually need to buy it themselves. And if I can combine the two, even better. But I think that visual aspect is what makes it really important. We have a bunch of brands that are incentivizing their customers to do this, basically post it on social media, and either tag us or use this hashtag, and then you can also use your referral link, obviously. But they want that visual aspect. They want people, not actors, not necessarily influencers, not necessarily models, wearing their products, because they know that works, even if there's not a referral program involved. Just they know that seeing regular people wearing their products is definitely going to help other people figure out, okay, that will look good on me, or okay, yeah, like if I know how that person looks like in real life, so I know that if that dress is looking good on her, it's gonna look good on me as well. So that kind of, like, again, going back to that social proof, I think that's what really helps. So that's what I would do. And like I said, a lot of brands are encouraging their customers to do unboxing videos on YouTube, just because they know that there's a reach, and it's always kind of a cool process to watch those videos. Like, oh, like what's going to happen next? Like, what's the packaging like? So yeah, I think the visual aspect will always be as many words as you can write praising the product.
Is there anyone, I mentioned the example of someone with thousands of Facebook friends. Is there anyone that, let's say, it works best for?
Good question. So something that we're seeing these days is that online stores, merchants are setting up two different accounts. There are two different referral programs. So you want for their customers, where they typically give discounts to both parties, so both the customer that's making the recommendation and the existing customer, and the new customer. But they also run a separate referral program for people that have a little bit more of a bigger audience, influencers. And so in that case, they typically give them a cash reward, and it's usually higher, and it's usually kind of like either lifetime or you'll get a commission for the first 10 purchases that every customer that you refer to us will make. And so both of them work. Obviously, a regular person like myself that I might have 350 followers on Instagram. My reach is more limited than somebody that has 30,000 followers, right? And actually makes a living out of their Instagram profile. And so you would think that in terms of volume, obviously it's good to have those people that have kind of like a bigger reach, just because they can get there. But we've also seen that influencers that are a little bit too big are a little bit more disconnected from their audience. And so their posts don't necessarily work as well as somebody that has 3, 10, 15, 30,000 followers on Instagram. So I would say both for different reasons. Also because again, the way that you are promoting the product is a little bit different. If you're a consumer, like, hey, I literally spent my money on this product and I'm recommending it to you. It looks a little bit more similar to the restaurant recommendation or the Netflix show. It's like, hey, I'm paying for this service and this is something that I found that's interesting. And an influencer who, even though we trust them, even though also their reputation is kind of on the line because they don't want to recommend the product that they don't like. They want to see it first and they want to make sure it's good. Even though we know that there's kind of like that level of trust and that they actually believe in the product, or they should actually believe in the product if they care about the reputation, it's not the same. We know that there's something behind it. We know that there's more of a financial incentive on their side than on the customer side. Like I said, both of them work. Both of them are different levels of word of mouth. And again, we're actually promoting both. Like, we tell companies that if you can start working with influencers, do it because it's going to pay off in the long run. But yeah, I would say that both of them work at different levels and for different reasons.
And you mentioned influencers. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they've been a bit more, should we say, regulated, in the sense that they have to be transparent about the fact that they're promoting. Is that something a consumer has to do if they, let's say they buy a product and then they put out a referral link? Do they have to disclose that that they would make sort of commission from that or something?
That's a very good question. I don't think so. But I'm also not a legal expert, so I don't want anybody to take my advice on that. But I think that has more to do with people that are kind of like doing it more professionally. If you're just getting a discount or getting a $10 gift card or $10 cash reward for referring your friends, I don't think you necessarily need to do it the first time. But again, I'm not a legal expert, so don't take my advice.
Well, putting the legal stuff aside, do you think that should happen, or do you think that's more of a hindrance?
I personally don't think so, because we're talking about people who are not necessarily making a living out of it. And again, referral programs they happen in all shapes and forms. We focus on e-commerce, but there's referral programs for all sorts of products. It could be even kind of related financial products, like for example, Coinbase has a referral program, and they give you Bitcoin if you refer a friend and they buy a certain amount. And TransferWise also has a referral program, and they literally give you cash if your friends, you refer X friends and they transfer X amount. So I don't think so, because personally, I feel like it would add a lot of just like unnecessary maybe regulation or unnecessary hassles for something that at the end of the day, it's something that people are doing. Again, you're not waking up at 8 a.m. and adding to your to-do list to refer TransferWise or refer Coinbase to your friends. It's something that's just probably happening organically, and you're not making a living out of it. So it's a different story if you are maybe like a content producer, or if you are an influencer, or if you have some sort of platform where you're actively looking to make money from that. But the majority of the recommendations that happen between people like you and me, like me referring my friends, there's not necessarily a financial drive behind it, because of the reason that I said earlier. Even if I'm making money out of it, I wouldn't recommend a bad product to my friends. So I think the incentive is a little bit different.
And in relation to yourself, what are some of the sort of biggest challenges with the business you're in?
I would say that, we've had challenges, and we've also had kind of like upsides. Both of them run by things that we can't really control. So operating in e-commerce, anybody who's in e-commerce or has been in e-commerce for the past 3, 4, 5 years, we've been through a roller coaster. We're still in that roller coaster where we can't really predict. We were never able to predict, but it's becoming more difficult than ever to predict what's going to happen. At the beginning of 2020, I remember that we said, oh, e-commerce. Well, in April of 2020, e-commerce reached the level of penetration that was supposed to happen in 2025. And so 2020 was a great year for anybody who was selling online, because that was pretty much the only option. Like, consumers were kind of legally forced to buy online because a lot of the different options weren't available. But now e-commerce revenues, e-commerce kind of penetration, it's kind of going down to a more natural level, more to like what it would look like a natural progression from 2018 to 2019. And so, yeah, and those are all things that we can't really control. Why is that going back to 2019 levels or slightly higher than 2019? But because people are spending more money on other things, restaurants, travel, services, things that they couldn't really spend money on before. They're still buying online. I'm sure a lot of people, I'm sure the majority of e-commerce consumers are spending more money on e-commerce than they did back in 2019. Probably not as much as they did in 2020, because again, you had no other option. And I'm sure that a lot of people that maybe were afraid of buying online in 2019, now they're regular e-commerce consumers, and they buy products online on a regular basis. But that gap on where we're spending our money, it's definitely there. And we obviously don't know what's going to happen, right? Like, also, we have inflation issues, they're talking about potential recession. We don't really know exactly what's going to happen. So I would say that's kind of like the biggest challenge, both for the upside and the downside, is that we have been dealing with a lot of things that we had no control over. And we're just, trying to kind of like, serve that as best we could.
And have you got some biggest wins that you're proud of?
Yeah. So one thing that we talk about a lot internally at the company is that, 2020, 2021 were years in which anybody who was in the e-commerce business did very well, considering how terrible the situation was. But I think it's also work that we did over the previous years of kind of like being ready for that, not actively knowing obviously what was going to happen and like the position we're going to be in. But I think we did a lot of things right to be prepared for that situation. So even internally at the company, we had a lot of system. We write everything down. We process absolutely everything. And when COVID hit and everybody had to start working from home, we had the systems in place to work from home. Nobody, pretty much the only aspect that people at ReferralCandy were missing from the office was the social aspect, which obviously you can tell. But literally everything else was working perfectly. We knew our processes. We knew what to do. We knew, everything was in place. It's like if we were prepared for it, right? And so I think that's something that, as a company, but also as a product, I think we had done a really good job over the past few years to basically position ourselves as the leaders in referral marketing for e-commerce and building a product that was meant for that. And I think our consumers trusted it. And again, just happy that we, did what we did in order to be prepared for a situation that just, came all of a sudden, and we were lucky to be prepared.
Well, I like the definition of luck is preparedness, or preparedness meets opportunity. So I guess that's congratulations on actually being ready, because obviously, as you know, some people weren't. But how did you get involved in the business?
So I joined the company about 6 years ago, and before that, I was exposed to the tech world, but not working on it. So I was doing sales for a startup that was providing recruitment services for tech companies and startups. And so my job as a salesperson was to convince these companies to let us kind of handle their recruiting. So on a weekly basis, I was meeting with people that were either working at tech companies or launching their own startups, and I will hear what the company was about, what the product was about, what they were building, and I was surrounded by all these people that were obviously way smarter than me, and they were building all these amazing products. And I was like, I really want to work in technology. I want to work in tech. And I started looking for companies that were hiring for remote salespeople, and ReferralCandy happened to be one of them. I found them on AngelList, and so I instead of actually, and again, this doesn't really. I mean, it's not like I'm preparing it for your podcast specifically, but one thing that I liked about ReferralCandy was that it's kind of like honest marketing in the sense that you're trying to convince your customers to promote your product if they liked it. Because again, no, if you have a good product, if you have a good customer experience, your customers are going to go out and refer anyway. So why not building a system around it? So I particularly like that part of like that kind of honest marketing of like, making it more transparent. So again, not that I prepare for your podcast, but it's kind of matches. And so I saw that we're hiring for a sales position on AngelList, and instead of applying, I sent an email to Dinesh, our CEO, and he replied. We had a few calls, and I'm still here. So,
well done on all that. And just coming back to what we talked about in relation to how a post might look, I kind of like the sort of documenting your life type approach. So, like when people, I don't know, the typical example is like, I'm having this meal today. Like when they put out a post about like what they've eaten or what they've done, like I went here type thing. I think it fits in quite nicely with like, I just bought this product type thing. And you can look at it if you want to. It comes back to the salesy thing that I mentioned, which is, and I know different definitions of that. So, I mean, it might be worth touching on your definition of what sales is actually, or what you see sales to be. But if you're documenting your life and you're putting it online, and you can get benefits from doing that, that's kind of like, it turns something which is perhaps an exercise that you're doing that you're not getting anything in return from to something which you might do. But coming back to that, after that ramble, I asked you what your approach to sales is. How do you feel about sales, and what does sales mean to you?
That's a good question. So over the past 6 years, I've been doing business development partnerships, basically at ReferralCandy. And I think, it wasn't a difficult transition for me, mostly because I've always thought that obviously, you have to provide value. And in whatever you do, and if you're in sales, you need to provide value to customers, because that's the only way that you're going to get first of all, their attention, and eventually their business. And with partnerships, it's even more important. If we're working with marketing agencies, if we're working with other tech companies, with media companies, I think it's good in whatever shape or form, if it's possible, have the mentality of providing value before you receive value. And it's something that it might be missing a little bit on maybe the sales world, but people that work in partnerships like myself, we kind of have that in mind all the time. If you're just starting to work with an agency, and maybe they haven't referred any customers to you yet, but you happen to know somebody who might need their services, just go ahead and send it. Like don't make everything a transaction. Don't make everything something that needs to have some sort of like check and balance, and like, well, I'm going to I'll send them this customer once they send their first lead, or anything along those lines. If you provide value, people will be more inclined to provide value. So that's kind of my approach. I know it's a little bit of an ideal scenario, but that's kind of my approach, how I like to approach sales. Also, even from a personal kind of selfish perspective, it makes you feel better. If you're providing something, if you are getting something in return for something you've done, it feels better than receiving something that you're not necessarily having any sort of response to, or anything along those lines. So yeah, kind of putting that skin in the game by like providing value to other people, I think it's crucial.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I certainly don't think there's anything wrong with having standards and having your values. So I appreciate the share. I did say beforehand, I was going to ask you what success means to you. So when that sort of term comes up, what does that make you think of?
Good question. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's progression. So at a personal level, professional level, company level, I think success means that you've been able to put yourself in a position in which you are better than what you were a year before. It could be, again, on the professional level, maybe you are in a position with more responsibilities. You're managing people. You're, having a higher compensation. Obviously, that's success if you can compare it to where you were before, and you're able to acknowledge the process that took you there. Obviously, if it's based on luck, then you're not really going to appreciate it as much. But if you know exactly what you did to get there, that's going to be rewarding, and that's going to feel like success. I don't think a lot of people feel successful after winning the lottery. They might feel happy, they might feel relieved, but I don't think
For
they
a
can
short
really
time.
feel successful. Exactly. So it's the same analogy that I would put, somebody that's going to the gym. If you start going to the gym and after a year, you're going to see results. Maybe you're not where you want to be, but you're closer, and you can see the journey and you can see what you put into it. So, honestly, you can apply that. And I try to apply that to not only professional, but also, personal relations, personal kind of development. Just try to improve. Be aware that there are things that might prevent you from improving, but try to figure it out, how to overcome those, and also always have a sense that again, there's a lot of things in your life that you can't control. So try to work around them.
Thank you for that. Is there anything that I should have asked you about today?
They should have asked me. I honestly don't think so. I mean, we've actually covered a lot of things that I typically don't cover in other podcasts. So I appreciate that. You made me think with these past couple of questions, especially the one about success and what sales means to me. And that's something I was not expecting, but I'm glad that you asked. So I don't know if there's any other topics that I don't have any other topics that come to mind.
So you're prepared for next time, right?
Absolutely.
Well, if people want to try out ReferralCandy, or they want to know more, what do they do?
They can just go to ReferralCandy.com, and there they'll be able to see all the information about how it works and how to get started. And then we also even have content. I've produced some of the content, some of the videos that explain how ReferralCandy works, so they can actually connect with me over there as well if they have any questions.
Any closing thoughts for us today?
Kind of bringing back to what we were talking about earlier in referral marketing. I learned recently that I think it was on a survey on eMarketer that e-commerce stores in 2021 were paying more in Facebook ads than they were earning in net profit, which means that Facebook is making more money from e-commerce stores than e-commerce stores are making themselves. Diversifying customer acquisition is crucial. Improving customer retention is even more crucial. And referral marketing, which is a performance-based channel, it's something that can help. So I recommend anybody who's listening to this, honestly, it doesn't really matter what industry you're in. If you're on e-commerce, it's probably easier. There's probably more systems around, but any other industry that you might be working on, figure out what's the best way for you to implement some sort of referral marketing system on your company.
Well, thank you for that. And for all the people listening, can you review the links in the description? And Raúl, thank you for being a great guest today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.